We are back now. Please tell us what are the main objectives and results of the visit of your President Erdogan in Romania?
First of all, I should admit that it's much belated visit because the last visit at the presidential level from Turkey to Romania was 7 years ago. So when I was first posted, I was reading all the reports, and when I saw that, I was a bit surprised and shocked actually.
Yes.
And I say, how come? You know, such a strategic ally of ours,
yes.
and there's no presidential visit for so many years. So I knock many doors actually before coming here to try to convince our leaders to have a visit on every level actually. And I feel myself quite lucky to have in my 6 months here to have our president in this important neighbor and ally of us. On the logistical side, it was a very successful visit. Logistics matters a lot actually in relationship between countries. It was actually on paper a second presidential visit to Romania after President Iohannis took the office. But the First Lady appeared for the first time as a part of the state visit, and she played a great host to our First Lady in this visit as well. It was the first encounter between our two leaders. As you know, President Erdogan is also relatively new in his new position,
yes.
And President Iohannis is also new. And people-to-people relationships have always been so important in
yes.
our 25 years of modern relationship. So I personally witnessed the rapport and the nice fine-tuning, the good rapport, I mean, between
the chemistry.
The chemistry, exactly, between the two leaders. Was quite happy on this. Protocol-wise, you know, the Romanian colleagues in every institution, like from police to protocol to presidency to prime ministry, they were so kind to us. The meeting with Prime Minister Ponta, for example, was arranged for like 10-15 minutes. It lasted more than an hour.
Really?
All concrete issues were laid down, etc. So this is the perception that was given outside, which is so important. On substantive part,
okay.
which is not that much known by the public.
Yes, that's why we have the honor to have you.
It's also a very strong visit. First of all, everything in our bilateral agenda has come to table in a very open and constructive manner. We once again underlined the very fact that there is no outstanding, even one problem in our political relationship. Everything is on the positive side. Economic and trade relationship, again, underlined as being one of the most important aspects of our overall bilateral relations. And our leaders put the target of 10 billion euros of bilateral trade in the near future. And
just a second, what do you mean by the 10 billion put it together?
Now actually our trade is about 6.3
yeah, 6.3
billion. They set the target.
They set the target.
Yes, to increasing this bilateral trade like this. Of course, it's a huge burden on our shoulders and on our businessmen's shoulders as well, community shoulders. Yes. But it's good to have such a target. It's actually encouraging our business people on both sides. On investment sides, they discuss about new additional investments in this country.
Could you tell us some examples of results? Like
these are actually private companies, of course. We are not talking about state companies.
Of course, yeah.
But in this particular visit, for example, President Erdogan mentioned about a Turkish private company who is planning to a new investment of amounting to 200 million euros, and which will eventually go about 600 million euros. They will start with the wood industry and then go to steel plant industry as well.
This is about economic.
Yes.
And it's very good because
yes, on the economic
create
side.
Jobs for the people. Will
exactly.
Will increase the economy. So
exactly.
It's very good.
Exactly. Romania has a great pragmatic approach on getting investments on that side. Anything that Turkey is gaining in the last decade is also something positive for Romania, and Romanian leadership and Romanian people sees this. When you make the third airport in Istanbul, for example, which will be the largest one in Europe, it will also be a kind of attraction point for Romania as well, because it's like 50 minutes of flight. Again, the speed train, for example, coming from Anatolia to Istanbul and then to the Bulgarian border, or the tube that binds the two continents, Asia and Europe, in Istanbul. All these things are actually regional opportunities, which is seen by the Romanian
leadership. Were on the agenda?
They were on the agenda as well. How can we move forward, use these new projects as well for larger projects in the region?
Yes.
And they also discussed opportunities for undertaking and having bilateral business projects in third countries, especially in Central Asia, for example, in countries like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, where we have very close relationship for years now.
Energy projects or what kind of?
Any kind of projects. So they have to, of course, it's again private sector.
Yes.
Thing, but from construction to energy, to enlarging, encompassing many fields on this. When it came to regional and international issues, there is again a quite open discussion. Of course, Black Sea situation.
I wanted to go to this besides economic. What was decided? If you can tell us a little bit, of course. What was decided on the security issues at the Black Sea?
We actually just confirmed that the opinions of the two countries are identical.
Okay.
For the security of the Black Sea, for the territorial integrity of Ukraine, for the situation of Tatars in Crimea, everything was actually once again underlined. That two countries are looking from the same perspective. Within NATO, the decision taken in the Wales summit are important for all of us. This is also, underlined
moving,
again.
You mean moving some of the commandments of NATO to Romania?
Yeah, additional
Poland,
measures of protecting the eastern and southern border. Of course, we mentioned a lot about the events on our southern border and Syria, and tell our difficulties and challenges of the Syrian situation, both to domestic security of Turkey as well. Yes. But on the agenda, it was mostly Black Sea, Crimea, and situation in Ukraine was heavily loaded. And also we discussed about additional cooperation within NATO between our militaries as well. I don't want to go into details on this, but possible Turkish contribution to new command centers here, and also our excellent cooperation through trilateral means as countries hosting elements of the ballistic missile defense system, as you know. So all these subjects.
Poland, Romania, and
yes, Turkey.
And Turkey. Because what the viewers don't know, they have the impression that only from the declarations coming from Moscow, that only Romania and Poland are part of the anti-shield, the anti-missile shield. Is not true. You are also part of this, yes. And you're before Romania. I mean, Romania became
the element in Turkey is already operational.
Yes, the elements in Turkey are operational.
We have the radar of it.
And can you confirm that it's just defensive? Because we hear from Russia, it's always that it's offensive. It's offensive.
Of course, we cannot think other way. I mean,
yeah,
it's a
defensive tool.
Decision,
it's not offensive. It's not against Russia. It's not against.
And there are clear-cut rules that are accepted within NATO. When Turkey took this decision, it took a lot actually. It took years. To convince the Turkish public, yes. Our leadership as well. Therefore, everything was very clear-cut. What is it for? Under what condition it will work? Its defensive capabilities. We worked very clearly and very neatly on this matter. It's a purely NATO defensive measure.
Of course. Well, this is important also for you, for the viewers to hear, because they listen different voices. It's not a problem. I mean, we're not Russophobe. We are just trying to clarify some aspects, and we are very open to have everybody here, including the Russian ambassador. I'm waiting for him to come, which is, by the way, as you know him, quite a nice person.
He is, yes. I met him. I visited him.
Very intellectual, very bright. Of course, the policy in Moscow is as it is, but we are waiting for them and him and to have a normal dialogue and to explain things, because my impression is that we are in a war of propaganda, which is not productive for anyone. But thank you for answering to this particular question. Let me go back a little bit to what you said earlier. I'm not asking you to develop, because it's not the case. But it is important to underline what you mentioned, besides the economic cooperation, that the two governments, or the two countries, through their representatives, your president, our leaders, decided to have a closer cooperation on the military side as well. And that is crucial for us because you are the biggest power at the Black Sea. I repeat this for people which may think that Russia is controlling the Black Sea. It's not controlling anything. You are your army. It's really strong. Your fleet. It's impressive. Submarines, all kind of ships, army ships you have at the Black Sea. And for Romania, it's really crucial the partnership with you. This is what our viewers must understand, because they see in Turkey only the beaches, nice holidays, your great hospitality as a people. But besides that, we have many other things in common, and this is security is crucial for Romania, for you, for everybody. So that's why what you just mentioned, it's important that the leaders, your president, our prime minister, or deciding to cooperate more on the military side as well, and that is very important. Now, let me go to another subject, if you will allow me, which is very important for you and also for us, I think, also for the whole Europe. And here I disagree with most of the EU countries, even though we have a good relationship with all the EU ambassadors, and our organization has projects implemented with them. I don't think it's any EU country with which we don't cooperate. But putting Turkey aside from 2005, it's really something I think it's a mistake. Turkey made huge progress in the last years. Okay, maybe are things to be continued in your country. Maybe it's not a perfect country, but no country is perfect. If we look to France and Italy, they are the biggest friends of Mr. Putin now. Even though they built up as members of EU, and they forgot about Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine is not on the agenda so much. Now Turkey is concerned about Ukraine. But besides this, which I should discuss with them, not with you, I believe
I'm not making comments on this.
No, please don't. It was my comment. But now I'm coming to where something you can comment, because I think European Union, and we are, Romania, it's backing up very much this. Personally, as a person, now it's my opinion, I fully support this, that you should be in the European Union, because you are part of Europe, even though sometimes they put you in Asia.
We are already in Europe. I mean, historically,
well, you are historically in Europe.
Population-wise, you know.
Exactly.
Social,
But in my view, I believe you should be in Europe, in the EU as soon as possible, because EU showed its weaknesses in defending Ukraine, in defending Moldova, in defending anything. So in terms of security,
and also in increasing its economy as well. It's collapsed,
yes, of course, I was going to that. We had a crisis which hit it very strong Europe. It didn't hit it you. So you have all the advantages to be in the European Union for the European Union, but the European Union has a lot of disadvantages of not having you. That's why, in my view, EU should do whatever they can to end this process of 2005. We have 10 years of negotiations, and they are still saying no. Saying no for what? Because if we look to countries which are in the EU now, are worse in terms of human rights, because this is what they are saying when they speak about your problems. Yes. Human rights, democratic values, and so on. Well, I don't want to give examples, but we have enough countries in the EU which are not an example of that. And you show that you have will, you show that you have made progress, you have no enemies besides some problems with Syria in the south.
Yes.
So you made a lot of progress. That's why I didn't make this laudatio for Turkey because I don't know what, but it is the reality. So that's why I wanted to comment on this. What do you think will be the road of you to the EU?
Thank you so much for this visionary approach. The basic term here is lack of vision on most part of Europe. Luckily, we have friends in capitals like Bucharest, like London, like Warsaw, like Madrid, like Lisbon, like Sweden. But lack of vision is present in some of larger capitals as well. Politics, geography, and economics actually requires and urges for a Turkish membership. We have never come forward and say economically and politically, because there are two major criteria, Maastricht and Copenhagen.
Absolutely.
We met everything, so take us in. But when you look on paper, on Maastricht criteria, we are even better than many of the EU countries.
I can give examples, but I want.
On Copenhagen, as you mentioned, even in Copenhagen, it says it sufficiently meets the criteria because there is always room for improvement. Yes. We didn't come forward and say we have the best democracy in the world. No, but we are trying hard to improve and to better our democratic practices. But back in 2003, it's already stated, like more than 10 years ago, that Turkey sufficiently met the Copenhagen criteria. This lack of vision is arising from historical prejudices, some prejudice against unfortunately being rising Islamophobia over there.
But if we look to Europe,
it is actually the panacea
of my friend, but
the problems.
I will be very blunt. If we look to Europe, we have more Muslim in Germany, in other countries coming from their own colonial past. So why they would oppose your citizens while they are hosting millions of Muslims in all Europe? You know, sometimes they really make me angry because I don't understand what the leaders of Europe are going to.
This is a matter of prejudice. Yes. We started negotiations 10 years ago. There are about 35 chapters. Only 14 of them is open, and only one of them is the easiest one. It's provisionally closed. The rest we cannot open because of political purposes. It's blocked by certain countries, notably by Cyprus.
And tell to the people what are the reasons they invoke, because I know.
This is striking. For example, we mentioned about energy security, Europe, etc., pipelines, and etc. Chapter 15 is on energy, and we say we are ready to open, to talk with Europe, with the EU, to align our acquis and legislation in line with the EU acquis, for example. I mean, now the European Commission, Brussels, can say to Greece or Bulgaria, well, this is wrong, you cannot make this pipeline because it's against the rule of the EU, but it cannot tell it to me because they're not opening the chapter already. So it's funny. How can this prejudice and lack of vision could create certain irregularities? Or leave it aside, one of the criticisms that we were receiving on judiciary and freedom, there are two chapters, 23 and 24, all related with rule of law and individual freedoms and etc. They're not opening it as well. Why are you not opening these chapters as well? Because it will align our legislation more in the EU acquis. But what we did, thanks God, with the visionary approach, no matter what will happen on paper and on the official front, we are opening the chapters ourselves in Turkey because there's a screening process and etc. So we change each of our legislation in line with the EU acquis. And now if there's a change, political change, and visionary change in Europe, and they say, okay, we are ready to open the chapters, we are ready to open any chapter in 2 months and move forward. But on the other hand, we are moving on our path of having more strong credentials in the democratic system and also stronger economy.
Yes, of course. I would like to have you many times a guest in our talk show, but we are close to the end. So let me ask you a question which is important for not harming, let's say, the feelings of some other countries. And our talk show, it's just a coincidence. It's taking place in the neighborhood of the day of the Armenians are the Armenian people are celebrating their genocide, as they called what happened in the Ottoman Empire, when the many Armenians were unfortunately either killed or moved or harmed. And I know it's a sensitive issue for you as well, but let me, and with your permission, I will approach this subject as well as the last subject. I want to use these last minutes to have your view on this. What can you tell us? I mean, the Armenians are condemning you for what happened within the Ottoman Empire. I will not say my opinion because you know my opinion, but I want you to tell something to them and to the Armenian people.
Thank you so much for asking this, because this is the centenary of 1915 events. It's a very touchy issue and emotions are so high on both sides, especially on the Armenian side. If you follow what happens in Turkey in the last years, there's a very courageous step towards reconciliation. Just recently, our Prime Minister made a very strong statement 2 days ago. He made it. Now we accept this, what happened to Ottoman Armenians, as a clear tragedy. It's never a denialistic approach. We honor the memories of innocent Armenians during the Ottoman times who lost their lives in the final years. And we clearly offer our condolences to their families and to their descendants. We are also ready to witness our history. We are not shying away from any responsibility of our history. We are a big country. Like any people can make, this thing or that thing. We are ready to discuss. We are ready to face. Even the Prime Minister say it's easy to find the culprits who is responsible for the demise of this tragedy. So we are ready. We are making our calls once again. Armenians and Turks lived about 1,000 years together. And 1915 is only the last part of it. We haven't seen for the first time each other like we have seen the Australians and the New Zealanders in Gallipoli, for example. Even with these people, we have friendship now. Why can we not do it with the Armenians? We have to have a reconciliatory approach. And for the first time in modern Turkish history, this year, there will be an official commemoration in the Armenian church that will commemorate the Armenians lost their lives during the recent years of the empire.
In Turkey.
In Turkey. So I was wondering what else can a Turkish leader could offer or could say publicly to the world. We are ready to open.
You mentioned also we are really at the end. But you mentioned also that you are open to a committee or a commission which is not including only you and the Armenians.
I was just saying this.
Yeah,
for more than 5 years now, we made our call to the world. Let's form a joint historians commission, which will be open to third country historians as well, for Americans, French, whatever, Romanians, and let them decide. And we declare that we are ready to accept whatever, because it's made numerous times by our President and Prime Minister, whatever the result comes out of this. Okay. But rather than doing this reconciliatory approach, pushing only the G word is not the right approach.
Okay. Well, I really felt the time was running with you in this talk show. And it's a pity because we have so many other things to speak, and the map is speaking for itself. Why Turkey is so important for Romania. We will present it also in the on our slides in the talk show. And of course, we'll have. I hope you will accept our invitation for next talk show other times, because we have many things in common. We have many things that are linking us together. I will not blame you that you conquered Oltenia from the part I'm coming from. Yeah. But I forgot about it. I'm not blaming you for that. But I look now forward. We look forward, the Romanians, to the cooperation and to the security, to the economic, to everything that it can bring the countries together, not what can split the countries. Because what Ceausescu did, we cannot. Did many bad things, right? What can we accept the legacy, but we cannot really do more.
Just one sentence, so relevant here. The biggest success of our relationship is driving friendship from a difficult history.
Yes, well, it was not easy.
It's unique.
As I said, I hope you look to the movies in Invitat, so it are very interesting. But but because I'm saying this because I feel you as a friend, so yes. I know you take it as a joke. But thank you again for coming and sharing all these things which are new about the visit of your president, about the cooperation, about security, about the Turkish stream, about the relation with Russia, about the relation with the United States, NATO. These are issues that are not known by the Romanian public. And these must be known, because else the stereotypes remains. And you know that people think into stereotypes sometimes about countries. So again, thank you very much, my friend Koray. I will invite you anytime. Congratulations for being such a successful leader for such a young age. Again, being the chief of staff of your president at 36 years old, and ambassador to Romania at 40. It's not little. And let me say goodbye to our viewers, and looking forward to our next guest, which will be another ambassador with another vision. O seară bună și să ne vedem cu viitor la Ambasador.